Hi, this is Hank reporting from Kyiv, and this is my update on Russian-Ukrainian war. Let's see what happened around Ukraine in the last 24 hours. Putin and Kyiv. Russian Enema attacked. Ukrainian Uranium. Looking at women, looking at war. Mysterious Russian economy. Part 2nd. I think you have already seen reports from the meeting between Putin and Kim Jong-un. It's like some kind of distorted mirror of our time. I remember such photographs from meetings of some Soviet elders with slogans about unity, brotherhood, and prosperity. My family and millions of others then experienced brotherhood while standing in lines for margarine. I remember these echoes of Soviet mode around me when I was growing up in Mariupol in the early 90s. You don't have to live well and you don't have to complain about it. Yeah, prosperity in full swing. What's important about this event? Having signed this agreement on friendly friendship, Russia, as it were, began to form its own club of outcasts. I simply have to make a remark. Look with whom Ukraine has signed agreements in the field of cooperation and security and draw a parallel. Ukraine and the USA, Great Britain, Germany, France, Canada, Italy, Denmark, the Netherlands, Finland, Latvia, Spain, Belgium, Portugal, Sweden, Iceland, Norway, Japan, and today South Korea officially announced that they want to reconsider their policy for military supplies to Ukraine. Write in the comments why do you think South Korea changed its mind. Putin officially and pompously put Russia on the same level as North Korea. Over the past decade, what have we heard about North Korea? This is a cruel dictatorship with complete lack of human rights, complete isolation, a huge number of sanctions, strained relations with the whole world, and threats towards the United States. What an ally! This country is a synonym of toxicity. Even Soviet leaders avoided visiting Pyongyang, but Putin decided to expand the borders of his empire. So what's in it other than terrible creepy photos? Now in the West, every person who shows his love to Russia should think, I live in a democratic society and praise a bloody dictator who rejoices in an alliance with North Korea. Maybe I am wrong in something and I should think about what I stand for and why do I support Russia? What good did they bring to the table? I want to say separately about American supporters of Putin. Oddly enough, there are successful and respected people like Elon Musk there. I don't want to write a lot of text on this topic, this is a question for a huge discussion, I'll formulate it briefly. Why do some Americans support the old enemy, I mean the heirs of the Soviet Union that Putin is trying to rebuild, and against new allies in the person of Ukraine, which sheds blood for democracy and freedom? Russians openly threaten and hate America, fight with NATO soldiers in their imagination, and Ukrainians openly say that we want to be on the same side with you. We want to be a part of NATO and the civilized world. Accept us. What can change for us personally? Russia will receive more Korean shells, perhaps more of their ballistic missiles with an unpronounceable names, but in general this looks like a panic on Putin's part. North Korea is decades behind the rest of the world in development. Today, Vietnam, which can also hardly be called a country playing in the major league of technology, with all due respect to Vietnamese. Why is the alliance between Putin and Kim dangerous? This increases the possibility of war between South Korea and North Korea, which could drag many other countries into this war, which will certainly benefit Putin. Everyone will be busy with a new war and Ukraine's priority will decrease as it was after the events in Israel in October last year. All the news were loaded with the Israel-Palestine confrontation. Ukraine has faded into the background. Also, we have not had a few attacks from Russia, but the focus on the world's public attentions has already been lost quite a lot. As I understand it, experts studying this region agree that within a few years North Korea could start a war. And then I found an interesting opinion on the Wave Function Collapse channel. The consolidation of South Korea and Japan around the United States, combined with the South Korean military-industrial complex, which has so far almost not interfered in the war in Ukraine, can give unexpected consequences for Moscow. Well, let's see what comes of all this. Unfortunately, we are not asked whether we want a new war in the world or not. I swear, Enema is really the name of a village in the Adygea Republic in southern Russia, and last night the oil refinery of Lukoil Corporation, one of the leaders of the Russian oil industry, was attacked there. Nothing special, the next plant will not produce fuel for tanks, but I couldn't miss the news with that title. There is no designation for this word in the Ukrainian and Russian languages. It's probably something local, but for English-speaking person, it will be at least funny. Result, -1 refinery with a weird name. Bloomberg drew attention to the fact that global uranium prices have risen by as much as 233% due to the fact that the world is returning to the potential of nuclear energy. Using the example of Ukraine, I want to say that I would like to see more solar power plants for the sake of caring for the environment, but today, after I didn't have electricity for 7 hours during the working day, I would not mind having a couple more nuclear power plants in Ukraine, or at least so that we return under control the biggest nuclear power plant in Europe, the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, which has been under the control of armed terrorists since 2022. Don't think that I want to tie any news to the topic Russians are bad, Ukraine is good, but this is directly related to what is happening. This is the flapping of a butterfly's wing, so to speak. Ukraine is losing its power plants and is forced to buy electricity from Europe. Thus, consumption in Europe is growing by at least one large country, and the need for nuclear energy is growing, and the price of uranium is rising. Ukraine has the 9th largest uranium deposits in the world, and France, which recently lost control of uranium mining in Niger, is definitely interested in obtaining cheap, legal, and accessible uranium, for example, from Ukraine. If you're interested, type in the search bar "mineral resources in Ukraine", and I will attach a link to a Britannic article which describes deposits of valuable minerals, which we will happily share and trade after we liberate our territories. Victoria Amelina's forthcoming book, War and Justice Diary, Looking at Women, Looking at War, is set to be published in early 2025 by St. Martin's Press and imprint of Macmillan Publishers. The book offers a collection of stories showing Ukrainian women's role in resisting Russian occupation and leading the fight for their country. The book is unfinished due to the tragic death of Victoria on July 1st, caused by serious injuries sustained during the Russian missile attack on Kramatorsk, writes Joy Tatarin for Chitomo. I remember that terrible day. In general, all such days merge into one endless February 24th from which we cannot get out. I'm so sorry for Victoria, I'm so sorry for every person who died. I'll be keeping an eye on news about this book, and when it comes out next year, I want to buy myself a copy and make a video about it, if I'll be still making them, of course. It seems to me that it is very important to tell every such story because this is someone's entire destroyed world, and by telling about a person, I distinguish her from dry statistics. You will remember her face and her thoughts. I will leave a link under the video to the pre-sale in the USA and to the article about Victoria. When talking about the state of affairs in Russia, it is important to consider three separate areas: the economic well-being of the Russian population, roughly speaking, how well they feel and how much they can afford basic needs like food. Simply put, now whether the TV with the propaganda or the refrigerator wins. Military capabilities, how the military-industrial complex works, and as a whole, how much they can cover the amount of lost equipment and how much the quality of the equipment that comes out as a replacement drops. In general, you need to understand whether they can produce and restore enough or have already gone into red in some positions like aircraft. We know for sure that they simply cannot produce some aircraft like the rare A-50 in any way, and the existing ones wear out and sometimes fall into my A's of C. The stability of the Putin's regime, how stable is this criminal group functioning? If we understand that there are his sympathizers and opponents within the system, then which of them is on top and what are the moods in Kremlin? We know we don't have accurate data, and perhaps no one in the world has them if Putin has kept everything secret. This is an absolute black box at the moment, and it will be very interesting to study its contents after the war, when we have access to some statistics, if at all possible. Imagine how many secrets there are. So, where is everything going? As the satellite photographs show, most military bases are approximately 70% empty. All the equipment has gone somewhere, probably in the morning statistics of the Ukrainian General Staff. Every morning I watch how the amount of destroyed Russian equipment grows, and I understand that it's not endless. For example, yesterday we passed the mark of 14,000 destroyed artillery systems of the Russian army. This includes both conventional or wheeled guns, self-propelled guns, and mortars. It's not clear how much of what. Plus, we don't know how many simply break due to wear of barrels or engines. So we have two versions. The first version is fantastic. By the end of 2024, Russia will lose all heavy equipment. As for me, this is an extremely optimistic forecast because let me remind you that we don't know the exact numbers. I would be happy to see in the morning statistics, the inscription, everything is destroyed, they have nothing left. But this is rather a fantasy. Version 2 is optimistic. Russia will have enough reserves and the current level of production to fight at the same pace until the end of 2025. That is about another 18 months. Approximately the following statistics were cited by the head of Ukrainian intelligence, Budanov, whose opinion comes first for me for several reasons. Firstly, he is always consistent in his statements and they have always corresponded to reality, as far as I can see. And secondly, he has classified information that there is only one copy, written on a piece of paper on his table. So, I won't discuss the third option. If you have some statistics or you assume that there are some different numbers, please drop them in the comment section. Let's discuss the third version if you have one. And there is another important point here that I didn't mention, the number of our equipment. This is also secret information and the whole conversation turned out to be a fortune-telling based on meager facts. We don't know how much equipment we have and how much we have lost. At least we, civil Ukrainians. But what do we know? First, a huge number of different countries help us with equipment from pistols to airplanes. Most of this equipment is much higher quality and newer than what Russia has. Yes, we're essentially now recycling all the crap metal that Soviet Union and Russia have been building for the last 60 years, and look how much we have already burned. Second, the Ukrainian military-industrial complex is developing much better than the Russian one because we have access to all the technologies. Foreign partners help us with production and financing. Yes, we understand that we are now living on other people's money, but we also understand that there is still Russian frozen money, which in future we will receive as reparations in one form or another. Third, I want to say modestly, but I also don't want to downplay the achievements. We really have several strengths and unique capabilities. We have amazing engineers. In 2.5 years, we created combat naval drones from scratch and dropped the Russian fleet into ports and sank a third. We were the first to use FPV drones with anti-tank shells and commercial DJI drones with grenade drops. This is a game changer. We showed the world how a drone assembled in a garage for $500 destroys a tank worth millions of dollars. The Neptune missile that sank the cruiser Moscow prices at approximately $750 million. It was a jackpot. There was nothing like it in the world. So what is it all? We didn't have such a large army and unlimited long-range missiles. We have 3 times less population and the economy is not so huge. We didn't claim to be an empire or some place in the top 5 countries. This is an asymmetrical response from Ukrainians who love their country and fight for survival. It seems to me that lately I have less and less electricity and more text in these videos. Tonight from 2 to 4 in the morning I was in shelter because at night Russians again launched dozens of missiles and drones at us. And from 6 in the morning I had no electricity and then during the day it was turned off again. It's very annoying, but I'm holding on. In general, the whole country lives like this. It's hard for us, but we are holding on. I'm very inspired by our military and the people who help them. I actively participate in volunteer activities because every closed request is literally a contribution to the victory and liberation of the country from the occupiers. I joke like this when I collect money for some kind of help to the military or paramedics. Consider that you're buying back meters of your own land with your own money. Thanks to everyone who continues to support us. I hope one day all this will end well and we will be glad to see our old friends from all countries who have walked this difficult path with us and didn't let us fall. This was my update on the Russian-Ukrainian war for day number 848. Take care and see you tomorrow.